हेलो नमस्ते वेलकम टु ओएमजी जिन्दगी यस ओएमजी जिन्दगीमा हामी सधैँ चाहिँ आज फेरि पनि आएका छौँ तपाईँहरूलाई धेरै कुराकानी लिएर एज युजुअल हामी तपाईँहरूलाई इन्टरटेनमेन्ट डोज या फेरि भनौँ न हेल्थ टिप्सहरू भयो स्पोर्ट्स अपडेट्सहरू लिएर आउने गर्थ्यौँ भने आजको यो सेसन प्रिसाइजली वी गोना टक अबाउट लिटरेचर यस लेडिज एन्ड जेन्टलमेन साहित्यको विषयमा हामी कुराकानी गर्नेछौँ अनि लेट मी टेल यु द्याट कि आजको कन्भर्सेसन अथवा आजको वार्तालाप हामी अङ्ग्रेजीमा गर्नेछौँ सो तपाईँहरू काइन्डली यसमा कोप अप गरिदिनु होला बिकज वी हेभ द गेस्ट अल द वे फ्रम डिफ्रेन्ट स्टेट भनौँ न हाम्रो अतिथि हुनुहुन्छ होइन सो उहाँसँग हामी अङ्ग्रेजीमा नै कन्भर्स गर्छौँ सो यसमा तपाईँले काइन्डली कोप अप गरिदिनु होला सो लेडिज एन्ड जेन्टलमेन आजको सेसनमा मलाई जोइन गर्नुभएको छ हि इज द इन्टरनेसनल अक्लेम्ड पोएट मिस्टर मधु राघवेन्द्र He is an Indian poet, curator, cultural activist and also public health practitioner. र उहाँले धेरै उहाँको किताबहरू निकालिसक्नु भएको छ कविताको त्यो ग्रन्थहरू निकालिसक्नु भएको छ र आजको यो सेसनमा चाहिँ हामी उहाँसँग विशेष गरी उहाँ नर्थ इस्टसँग पनि धेरै जोड्नु भएको छ नर्थ इस्टमा आएर धेरै उहाँले यहाँको साहित्यलाई लिएर पनि धेरै स्टडी गर्नुभएको छ यो विषयमा हामी विस्तृत रूपमा कुराकानी गर्छौँ र आउनुहोस् अब भने चाहिँ हामी ढिलो नगरिकन हाम्रो आजको गेस्ट मिस्टर मधुलाई वेलकम गरिहाल्नु मिस्टर मधु वेलकम
Thank you to the viewers and to the few.
So, how is Sikkim treating you?
Lovely. And to begin with, I discovered your channel OMG Zindagi through some lovely interviews, and I'm happy we could collaborate. And it's a lovely channel that you guys run. Yeah.
Okay. So, Madhu, as we all know, you are internationally acclaimed poet. So, what made you come to Sikkim?
So this was part of something called Tribal Health Collaborative from the Ministry of Tribal Affairs and Ministry of Health and Piramal Foundation and Bill and Melinda Gates have come together to form this. And a part of this, we are treating culture as an essential part. And because of this, we did 2 poetry workshops for the students of EMR schools, Ekalavya Model Schools run by Ministry of Tribal Affairs in Pakyong and Suntole.
Okay. Yeah. So Madhu, why don't you tell us something about yourself, about your background, so where you hail from, so please tell us.
So I am a Tanjore Maharashtrian. So I belong to, so we are ethnically Maharashtrians who migrated to Tanjore side, to South India side during Shivaji Maharaj's reign. But I was born and brought up in Calcutta and my wife is from the beautiful land of Arunachal, from the Galo tribe. And I have worked all my life across India in public health, in development sector, and poetry, teaching poetry to the children of this country across.
Okay, so since you are associated with literature, so do you come from a literature background, and what inspired you to, start writing poetry?
I think poetry was always a very, very in my deepest self, and I think if I didn't write poetry, I get jittery, I cannot function. It's almost like an addiction, you can say, but in a good way. And I need to express myself. I need to, and my poems are also very anthropological in some ways. Like if I meet people, I write about their stories in my poems, at times about places, about beautiful things that because I keep traveling a lot, I meet a lot of people and people from different cultures and places. And as we know, India is a very rich land, and we have 705 tribes in our country. And so I love to revel in these cultures, and that is my core interest. And that's how I came to poetry, through the interest of writing about everything small and beautiful in life.
Yeah. So, what or which writer did you enjoy reading when you were as a child, or who inspired you?
So for me, as a child or even growing up, I enjoyed reading poems. I began with the poems of simpler poems of like Rumi's poems, or let's say poems of a lot of Hindi poets. I read a lot of Hindi poets as a kid, but then I came through English poetry through even Urdu poetry, through a poet called John Elia, whom I adored a lot. So I think I kept growing in my learning, and in recent times I enjoy reading a lot of indigenous literature from India and poets who are not a part of the mainstream per per se,
Right, right.
and so across India. Yeah.
So as you mentioned about the mainstream thing, literature, and we in Northeast we have various tribes, and there are many poets, many there are many personalities who has been so underground. So how do you see the literature scene of entire Northeast?
I think that it's a very interesting cross-sectional point of history right now we live, because the world is looking at India, and the world is looking at our country for not only leadership but also ancient knowledge that we
Right,
have.
right.
And the moment we start celebrating, I mean, there have been fabulous writers from Yeshe Dorji Chongchi to Eastrin Kide to we have really good writers. But apart from that, also there's so much of literature young people are writing every single day. Today I was in one of the Tadong College, and the children were writing so beautifully. They were recording their culture, even in EMR schools in Sikkim. So I think it is a point of time where people are realizing that uh, poetry and art is one of the best ways to express your identity, who you are, the issues around you, in a very aesthetic sense. That is the most important thing. Yeah.
Okay, so as you mentioned, you were today in one of the colleges in Gangtok itself, right? So I'm sure you have been to many other states as well, going to different schools and interacting with the children. So did you find any difference between other states and the students from our state, Sikkim?
I think one of the things that I loved is their intense form of writing. It was pretty intense because usually people. I also see a lot of young people. It's a thing. I think most people begin writing with love and simple things of nature, but they were also in some ways like Edgar Allan Poe-ish in some ways, and that was nice to see. I mean, the children were intense. They were serious. And it was a beautiful college and campus, and the principal was very active. I was happy to see a college being so involved, because I just like we just decided 3 days ago or a couple of days ago that we can do this, and the department people were very encouraging.
We know you have a plethora of poems, right? So among those poems, do you have any favorite poem of yours?
Okay, so no, I could start with one of the simplest poems, and this is especially for the young people who are watching. Is that, I mean, let's say these are very accessible. One of the old poems that I wrote, and the poem goes something like this. And I want to share this because even the simplest feeling like this, I mean, you meet people every day with all your heart and soul. You make friends. And I think even the joy of this comes in this small poetry. It goes something like this: that they would not give me a degree. They would not give me a degree because I chose people as my subject. I have people for tea. I have people for coffee. I have people for serenity. I have people because I have a moment to pause, to lick off their finger warm caramel sauce, homemade, hugs, heaps of honest smiles, and carefree tears and happy whiles. I'm in debt. I'm in debt because I have people on my side and they thought I was unqualified.
Wow, wow. So, do you think that poem needs to rhyme? Because mostly when it's in a rhyming way, it sounds, interesting. So, what do you think as a poet? Do you think the poem needs to rhyme?
It is totally on the content of the person and the soul of the like some people write very dark poems, some people want to write poem like a rhyme poem, some people want to write in a very non-conventional way, some people write shape poems, like in the shape of a leaf they would write a leaf poem. So everything goes as long as you know how to grow the art, because as an artist your job is to take the art forward, and that's your core job, to serve the arts. To serve the people is a secondary thing. You have to take the art forward. So I think that is the core job, and and it's nice to rhyme, and at times it's because there's also because you bought the word rhyme. Let me also tell you, there's a beautiful lyricality of words in general. So there's something also called internal rhymes of what, like if I say to you that Nitesh, how lovely your specs looks. There's some lyricality that goes,
Right, right.
and that is something we need to work with rather than, because then you're constricted by rhyming rather than what you want to say. Yeah. So.
I'm sure as a poet, you must be, following many other poets as well, right? From India. So, do you have any favorite poet? Whom do you follow?
I think we are all an assimilation of, like, let's say you being RJ and you being an interviewer. It is assimilation since you started speaking to your mother since today. It's all a deepest assimilation of everything. So I think that's the joy. But at the same time, I do enjoy reading Manohar Shetty. I do enjoy reading indigenous poets like Vandana Tete. I do enjoy reading Isrin Kire, Mamang Dai, all our common favorites. But also at the same time, I do enjoy having deepest conversations with probably somebody, let's say, I mean, I was in Zero last year and I was trying to learn how to cut the paddy, and that was a joy, and I think that would go. So yeah, the lived experiences of life.
Okay. As I said, you have a plethora of poems, right? So does someone appreciated something about your poems, or is there any good, memories, or I would say someone appreciated about your poem?
Yes and no, but mostly I don't remember. So I was pretty lost, and because I didn't have, so usually, at least what I'm speaking about is a time we didn't have social media, we didn't have internet, we didn't have phones to carry around. So yeah, the idea that if I want to be a poet, what should I do? And was a big question, and there was not a easy, conglomeration of people you would just find to interact with. So it was a journey that I made in my own way, and I'm really happy it happened because it was very organic and lovely. Yeah.
Okay, so what topic or what do you keep it as a base in your poem? Because usually there are certain genre of literature or poem, right? So what type of subject do you project on your poem?
So I keep saying this, and let me say this to the younger generation as well. What is art or what is poetry might be a question, but for me that is the answer. Like, if I define it, I've defined it, and I don't want to get it defined. I want to change it every single day. If I'm working with the image, if I'm interacting, let's say I'm interacting with an international artist from New York, a dancer, I want to see what she's doing and translate that experience into words. And if I'm looking at a painter, so I like cross intersectionality of art. And my poems are also at times composed into dance, at times it's composed into classical music, set to classical music. And that experience is very humbling, because it's two beautiful art forms coming together. So for me, I would say that I write around everything, around ecology, around people, around simplest of things, around places, around very contemporary things. Like there was a poem about the Ukrainian war, but I didn't even mention the war. I said the poem was called OTP, and I said that for everything we get an OTP in our life, to buy briefs or to buy diapers. So I did not get an OTP for this war. I did not authorize this purchase.
All right. So, as per you, what are some common misconceptions about the poets or the poetry you have encountered throughout your life?
I wouldn't say misconception, but I do enjoy giving children and mostly young adults a new lens to poetry. I say that don't restrict poetry to feelings and emotions. Also read poetry thinking that you will build the way of a language and imagination that you won't otherwise be able to build, which will help you in your careers, which will help you in an application, job application, which will help you in an essay, which will help you to write statement of purpose for foreign universities. So if your language is very creative, differently than what everybody else is saying, then you get somewhere new. Yeah.
So Madhu, thank you very much for being with us and sharing your journey. So lastly, one message, what would you give a piece of advice for someone who wants to start writing poetry but doesn't know where to begin? Any piece of advice to those poets?
So I would say learn what not to read. That is more important. You can't go around making friends with everyone. So you will have to choose your friends. So go siphon through books. If you don't like reading suddenly 100 books together, just start siphoning one page, two page. Oh, I don't like him. Oh, I don't want to be friends with him. Oh, I want to be friends with this guy. That's important. Like 5 friends, 5 solid friends to guide you through. And then you can build slowly on that. And so my idea is keep disrupting arts, keep thinking, rethinking, reimagining, unlearning more, and just go for it.
All right. So thank you very much. So lastly, any message from your end to our entire audience, viewers?
Yeah, and keep listening to OMG. It's a lovely channel. But apart from that, do practice art. It gives a lot of empathy, which you otherwise yearn for in life, and the little joys that your senses are yearning for within you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. It was a lovely time to know about you. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, मैले आजको कन्भर्सेसनलाई अघि भनिहालेको थिएँ हामीले अङ्ग्रेजीमा इङ्ग्लिसमा गर्छौँ भनेर सो आजको हाम्रो गेस्ट हुनुहुन्थ्यो इन्टरनेसनल पोएट हुनुहुन्छ मिस्टर मधु रघवेन्द्र सो उहाँको बारेमा विस्तृत जानकारी गर्नुभयो साथसाथमा हाम्रो यहाँको जति पनि राइजिङ एस्पायरिङ पोएट्सहरू छ उहाँको लागि धेरै टिप्सहरू पनि दिनुभयो सो विथ दिस हामी यो सेसनलाई यही नै ऱ्यापअप गर्छौँ यही नै वाइन्ड अप गर्छौँ थ्याङ्क यू भेरी मच आजको यो हाम्रो इन्ट्रेस्टिङ भन्दा पनि एउटा ज्ञानबद्ध यो कन्भर्सेसन रहेको थियो विशेष गरी साहित्यलाई लिएर हैन कवितालाई लिएर सो डेफिनेटली नेक्स्ट एपिसोडमा अझ यस्तै इन्ट्रेस्टिङ पर्सनालिटिजहरू लिएर आउने बाचा गर्दै तबसम्मलाई थ्याङ्क यू भेरी मच ओएमजे जिन्दगीलाई हेरिदिनु भएकोमा स्टे ट्युन विथ अस थ्याङ्क यू